Ladies and gentlemen, dear guests, we have a great honor and pleasure to welcome you on the 4th International Scientific Conference of the Dilemmas of Human Nutrition Sciences, today and tomorrow, Planned Diet, Benefits and Risk. Magdalena Górnicka, President of Polish Society of Nutritional Sciences, Chairwoman of the Scientific Committee.
Good morning, welcome everyone. This is, thank you. I am together with Professor Katarzyna Socha. She is Chairwoman of Organizing Committee, but also Vice Rector for Development and Cooperation with the Economic Environment in Medical University of Białystok, and also Head of Department of Bromatology.
Welcome.
Mamy slide. The conference organizers are Polish Society of Nutritional Sciences and the Faculty of Pharmacy with the Division of Laboratory Medicine in Medical University of Białystok. Our society was established in 1980, so in this year we celebrate 45th anniversary. I would like to mention our previous president is very world-famous scientist. It is Professor Stanisław Berger, Professor Anna Gronowska-Senger, Professor Anna Brzozowska, and Professor Jadwiga Hamułka. Welcome, Professor. If you are interested in our history of our society, I invite you on our website. I think it's more information about our society. Now I would like to introduce and thank the institutions who have provided patronage. The honorary patronage of the conferences was assumed by Rector of the Medical University of Białystok, Professor Marcin Moniuszko. Committee on Human Nutrition Science of the Polish Academy of Sciences with President Professor Jadwiga Hamułka. Thank you. Wojewód of Podlaskie Dr Jacek Brzozowski. Marshal of the Podlaskie Voivodeship Łukasz Prokorym. And President of Białystok City Professor Tadeusz Truskolaski. Thank you for your patronage. Media patronage was provided by Polskie Radio Białystok and Medyk Białostocki. Thank you very much.
I have a great honor to welcome our guests. The rector of the Medical University of Białystok is represented by Professor Irina Kowalska, Vice Rector for Science and Evaluation. I also welcome Professor Adam Krętowski, Vice Rector for Digital Medicine and Clinical Research, and Professor Janusz Dzięcioł, Vice Rector for Teaching Hospitals and Postgraduate Education. Welcome guests from the University of Białystok. The Dean of the Faculty of Chemistry, represented by Professor Barbara Leśniewska. From the Faculty of Chemistry, I also welcome Professor Ewa Gorodkiewicz. The Rector of Białystok University of Technology represents Professor Jolanta Piekut and Professor Monika Kalinowska. Welcome Vice Rectors of Academy of Medical Sciences in Białystok, Dr Paweł Kitlas and Dr Agnieszka Zakrzewska. Welcome President of the Chamber of Commerce and Industry in Białystok, Jarosław Antychowicz, and Vice President of the same institution, Mr. Jan Borawski. The Marshal's Office represents Barbara Kuprel-Poźniak from the Department of Innovation and Entrepreneurship. Welcome. Welcome President of the Innovation Ecosystem Agriculture Way 40, Mr. Andrzej Parafieniuk. Welcome the Director of the University Clinical Hospital, Professor Jan Kochanowicz. And Mr. Daniel Chomicki, President of the Foundation Białystok Zdrowe Miasto. Welcome media representatives, Marcin Tomkiel, Polskie Radio Białystok, and Dorota Sawicka, Medyk Białostocki, and Marta Kapturek-Bozik, Telewizja Polska, Branch Białystok. The conference is co-organized by Faculty of Pharmacy with the Division of Laboratory Medicine. I cordially welcome Professor Wojciech Miltyk, the Dean of the Faculty, and Vice Deans, Professor Bartłomiej Kałaska, Professor Justyna Hermanowicz, and Professor Sylwia Naliwajko, and Professor Katarzyna Winnicka, sorry. I warmly welcome the retired head of the Department of Bromatology, Professor Maria Borawska. We welcome the outstanding scientists who have accepted our invitation to deliver plenary lectures. Professor Alexandra Johnston is available online. Professor Kazim Sashin with Professor Nurhan Sashin. Professor Irena Kesser. Professor Mirosław Haban and Professor Marta Habanowa with co-workers. Also online, and Professor Marko Obranowicz, Professor Bożena Łozowicka, and Professor Anatol Panasiuk. We would like to welcome all the guests whom I have not mentioned. We honored us with their presence. Professor Bożena Łozowicka coming. I would like to particularly warm welcome to all participants of our conference. I kindly ask the rector, Professor Irina Kowalska, to welcome our participants.
Dear guests, dear participants, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Rector of the Medical University of Białystok, Professor Marcin Moniuszko, it is my great pleasure and honor to welcome you all at the 4th International Scientific Conference, Dilemmas of Human Nutrition Sciences, today and tomorrow. The title of today's conference is Plant Diet, Benefits and Risks. We are now facing a global pandemic of lifestyle diseases such as obesity or diabetes. In this context, today's conference raises a very important topic that has become a vital part of both our clinical practice and research work, especially in the days when we have a lot of disinformation everywhere. I would therefore like to extend my especially warm welcome to our esteemed guests who kindly agreed to share their experience with us. I would also like to congratulate the organizers of the conference, led by the Vice Rector for the Development and Cooperation with the Economic Environment, Professor Katarzyna Socha. A big applause. I'm sure that today's event will be an excellent opportunity for engaging discussion and broadening our knowledge in this topic. Thank you very much, and I hope you will enjoy the conference here at our university at Białystok. Thank you very much.
Now we would like to thank the sponsor for supporting our conference. The gold sponsor of the conference is Ideal Bistro, Eat Better and Pura Cup. Thank you very much for your support and please come with us.
Ideal Bistro.
We invite you. The silver sponsor is Młyn Niedźwiady.
Wioleta Miedlicka.
We would like to thank the other sponsor, Alchem. Analityk. O, przepraszam.
Analityk Alchem też. Prosimy pana z Alchemu. Sorry. Wszyscy dobrze są. Powiedzieliśmy Fausta.
Biotomet. Danon. Next, our sponsor is FOS Polska. Stowarzyszenie Krajowa Unia Producentów Soków. LPPP Equipment. Dziękujemy. Nutri Design Lab. And Podlaskie Zakłady Zbożowe. Thank you very much for your supporting, and now a few moments for our conference, about our conference. Our conference is a young child of our society, it's only 9 years. Our conference take place every 2 years. The idea of organizing cyclical conferences was born in 2060. As you can see on the slide, the first conference was held in Olsztyn and focused on nutrition and cancer. The second was held in Warsaw and focused on elderly people, nutrition and quality of life of elderly. And the last in Poznań focused on women's health. This year our subject is planet diet, benefits and risk. So now let's get started our conference with today's agenda.
We are pleased to begin the first plenary session. I would like to ask the chairwoman of the Committee of Human Nutrition Science of the Polish Academy of Science, Professor Jadwiga Hamułka, to co-chair the session. Please. Few moments, please. We have to check that Professor Alex Johnston is available online, because the first plenary lecture will be online. Oh, okay.
Morning. Good morning.
Good morning, welcome everyone. The first speaker is Professor Alexandra Johnston from the University of Aberdeen. Professor Alex is a member of the Rhodes Institute Executive Committee as team lead for nutrition, obesity and diseases. She currently leads 2 grants which aim to improve environmentally sustainability and healthier food choice in the UK food system, focusing on policy for the healthy food sector. Professor Alex has collaborated with a policy society, example Marta Leoni from the University of Warmia and Mazur in Olsztyn. Professor Alex, please, you give the floor.
Thank you. Just to check, you can hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes, good.
Yes.
And the slides,
Yes.
the slides are working okay as
Yes.
well. Good. Okay. Brilliant. So thank you so much for the invitation to join you this morning. Your meeting sounds extremely interesting, and I'm looking forward to hear the speakers this morning. So I have around half an hour with you. So I would like to cover an area that I'm very passionate about right now, and that is the challenges of living with obesity and food insecurity, and working with the retail food environment, and also thinking about how we can achieve healthy and environmentally sustainable diets. So the ROWIT is in the University of Aberdeen. It's part of our medical campus, and it's 100 years old, and Boyd Orr started the institute to look at food production and consequences of malnutrition. So my ongoing research goal is to work on safer, fairer, healthy and sustainable food for all. And there are 3 challenges that we currently face in modern society. First of all, that we live in an obesogenic environment where it's very easy to gain weight, and around 2/3 of adults are collectively overweight and obese, and nearly 1/3 of adults in Scotland are living with obesity. The other problem is that we have our healthy eating advice from Public Health, and in the UK we have the Eat Well Guide. However, less than 0.1% of the UK population follow the guidelines. So that's a challenge, how to achieve behaviour change. And then lastly, the new area is that the concern about the role of ultra-processed food in our diet, and they contribute around 60% of our diet in the UK. So it is no longer the norm to be a healthy weight. In the UK, more than half of women are collectively living with overweight or obesity, and 6 out of 10 men also. So that means when you factor in malnutrition or undernutrition, then there are less people who are actually managing to achieve a healthy weight. But weight is not equitable, and we recognise fully that some groups are at higher risk of weight gain. So for adult women who are living in food insecurity, they are 50% more likely to be living with a higher body weight. And then also children, around 2.3 million children are living in food poverty, and food insecure children are at risk of growing up to be living with obesity as an adult. So we know that food insecurity is linked with a poor quality of diet, and that's particularly low nutrient-rich diet with low portions of vegetables, fruit and dairy. We have currently what we call the cost of living crisis, where the cost of food has increased with inflation, and the cost of fuel, so that's gas and electricity in the home for cooking, has also increased dramatically. And these create an environment of food insecurity. And food insecurity in this context isn't about not having any food, it's about relating to access to food, and specifically affordable and healthy food. So we're working with retailers to support healthy and environmentally sustainable shopping habits for people living with obesity and food insecurity. And this is because the retail food sector has such an important role for families who are living with a low income. They spend 76% of their monthly food budget in a supermarket, and they need to spend around about 40% of their disposable income to eat healthily. So some of the new work that we're doing is funded by UKRI, or Transforming UK Food Systems Strategic Priority Fund, and that's how can we improve environmentally sustainable and healthier food choices in the UK food system, and we're aiming to provide actionable evidence for retail strategy policy. So that is the logo there that we can see, which is our FIO food. FIO is the acronym for Food Insecurity and Obesity. We also have a top-up grant, which we've called DIO Food, which is looking at diet and health inequalities as well. So this is a huge team effort with 7 universities and a retail partner, and we're capturing the lived experience. We're capturing big data level, population level data. We've got action level, and then we have over 100 stakeholders in the project, and to deliver impact. Just a taster of some slides, some results before I move on to the section on protein. So we've looked at food purchasing behaviours and food preparation practices, how people are coping with the cost of living crisis, how that's changed in the retail sector. So here we have results from a survey that we did right across the UK and a couple of thousand people, and we can see that there's a greater use of budgeting, cutting back on healthy food to try and afford other essential bills. a greater use of supermarket offers, like buy one, get one free, or multi-deal buys. And we recognise that food insecurity is linked with greater use of energy-saving appliances like air fryers or microwaves because they're cheaper to run, greater use of resourceful cooking to try and reduce the amount of food waste, but less use of meal planning. So the next two slides are very similar in the layout, and we asked people with lived experience with obesity, what would they find to be the most helpful interventions in store and online when shopping for health, and then what was the least helpful. And perhaps it's not surprising, then the most helpful interventions were price discounts, promotions to get money off, and rewards on their supermarket card. We know that least helpful interventions when they're in store, which is interesting because sometimes public health would advocate this, would be improved information on pack, nutrition shelf labelling, and placing healthy food at the end of the aisle. When it comes to sustainability, which is more the thrust of today's meeting, in terms of plant-based diets, is very, very similar. So again, offers and promotions, rewards and supermarket loyalty cards, and then locally grown produce was deemed really important. We know that customers do not find helpful getting more information about ethical trading or sustainability logos or sustainability information. So that's interesting what they don't feel is helpful. And then just to give you a flavour, some of the work that we're doing, we're looking at the impact of policy on behaviour change in the UK, and that is the impact of the high fat, sugar and salt legislation, which governs where these products can be advertised in store. And we're looking at evaluating the policy, attitudes, impact on the environment, impact on health and well-being, and economic impact. And those results will be ready to share around September time. So moving on now to healthy and environmentally sustainable diets. And just to flag up, thanks to Marta, she's been involved in both these work packages, so very much recognise a team effort. So we touched on this before, so I want to come back to the Eat Well guide because it tells us the amount of each nutrient needed for a healthy, balanced diet. But of course we do know that this is public health advice and that individual requirements will be dependent on gender, age, level of physical activity and health status. I'm particularly interested in protein, which we can think about our nutrition needs in terms of grams of protein, or often expressed as our percentage of energy. And in the UK, we have something called reference nutrient intake, which is set around about 0.8 grams, and then it's expressed per kilogram of body weight. And not only is the amount really important, I think it's really exciting to think about protein distribution throughout the day, because we don't eat nutrients, do we? We really eat meals and snacks. So I'm pulling out some American data here, and this is the average protein consumption at breakfast time, lunchtime, dinner time, and snacks. And we've set the threshold level here between 25 and 32 grams, which is the amount that would promote muscle protein synthesis. And we can see a pattern here towards people in the US don't tend to eat enough protein at breakfast, but just at lunch and dinner. So this was taken from the N. Haynes data set from 2001-2008, and intake of men was a bit higher, but we need to really think about increasing protein intake at the breakfast period. So one of the take-home messages there is that we really should be thinking about consuming 2 to 3 meals a day, each containing between 25 and 30 grams of protein to support health outcomes. And that would be including to maintain muscle mass, for a healthy body weight and appetite control, but of course with an emphasis on plant whole foods. If we think about what is the most common protein sources that we consume in the UK, I guess it would be the same in Poland. There's a huge emphasis and reliance on animal origin, with less from plants. And we really need to be thinking about alternative sustainable sources of protein. These are the top sources that we consume. This is from the National Diet and Nutrition Survey. Poultry is the most popular meat, and the only plant protein that gets a look in is baked beans, and the rest are red meats, and fish comes in at number 10. So question is, can you eat too much protein? Yes. So remember, the World Cancer Research Fund suggest that if people eat 50 grams of processed meat a day, then bowel cancer risk is increased. So being mindful of that. So we've looked at, in Scotland, some of the dietary inequality patterns, and we can see that the role of health inequalities and social deprivation. We can see that the processed meat was much higher than that recommendation, 99 grams a day, regardless of deprivation levels. The Scottish consumers eat more red meat than the World Health Organization, WHO's recommendation. We also looked at plant protein intake, and that was really low. Plant protein from peas, beans and pulses was lowest with those with the highest level of deprivation, and those with a higher income ate still slightly more peas and beans and pulses, but still really low. So we have got some way to go to embrace a plant-based diet. So why is it so difficult to change our eating behaviours? And that's because we don't just eat for energy, we eat because it's a social experience, because it's enjoyable, and perhaps for emotional reasons. I also think about, why do we stop eating, which is linked to palatability and reward and perhaps cost. So I'm really interested in appetite control and thinking about hunger as a cue to initiate eating, and appetite in terms of defining the choices that we make, and remembering that eating is a form of behaviour and we learn our eating behaviour, just the same as physical activity. I really like the work of Daniel Tom. So this is some of his work looking at the impact of protein to try and link psychology and behaviour. We're really interested in how protein would impact on motivation to eat. So we know that protein can send signals to the brain via the vagus nerve or the bloodstream. We know that the role of increased protein is linked to protein-induced satiety. We don't really know very well about the role of decision-making areas in the brain, but we do know more about the role of the gut hormones. So some of the work that I've been doing, which I don't have time to go into today, is looking at gastric emptying with protein to create a sense of fullness, the impact on our gut hormones, the impact of amino acids, which are metabolized through the liver in terms of circulating amino acid profile, and then how that might impact on the brain. So, but shoppers, when they go into the supermarket, are not thinking about all these really complex systems. When shoppers are asked, what are your 5 most important considerations from shopping, it will come as no surprise that price is the top, followed by promotions, followed by quality of produce, the taste and smell. So only 50% of consumers are interested in healthy options, and less than 1/5 of consumers are interested in ethical or eco-friendly options. So you've already lost half of consumers when they enter a shop that are not interested in health at all. Protein power is something that we're really embracing in the UK. There are lots of brands that are tapped into the power of labelling something as being high protein, and certainly, so here's some of the brands that we've got. And the brand that I launched for Marks and Spencer's was the Balanced For You brand as a ready-to-eat high protein meal. And it was we showed that high protein can lead to weight loss. So a weight loss study over 4 weeks, so a clinically significant weight loss of 5% over 4 weeks. And this shows that research can make an impact, and sharing our results is really important if we're going to change the access to food and how we're going to achieve healthier body weight. So I've touched on environmental sustainability. What are sustainable diets? A simplistic way of thinking about that would be just enough to feed everybody on the planet. We've got a growing population and a trend toward a Western style of eating. But planetary health is, of course, around sustainable diets and considers the whole food chain from farming through to transport, cooking and waste disposal, because we know that our food system contributes towards greenhouse gas emissions, which impacts on the ozone layer, but we also need to think about water use, biodiversity and deforestation. The concept of a sustainable diet really is highlighting this environmental unsustainable nature of our current consumption patterns that's linked to affluent societies. And in theory, a sustainable diet is one that will minimise the environmental damage and will at the same time support a resilient and farming food industry, but also ensures that people eat a healthy and nutritionally balanced diet. So in the UK, we've been thinking about some of our non-meat sources of protein that can be grown and consumed. So thinking about the range of legumes, nuts and seeds, grains, non-dairy milk, so less reliance on cows, and then different supplements. So recognising that there's a huge range of plant-based protein sources that are available to consume in the diet. And these are the ones that we've been looking at the Rowett, particularly focusing in around hemp, but these can all be grown in Scotland. And why do we think consumers might shift away from meat intake? So this is the Protein to Food project, won a big EU grant. And the main reason is for environmental concerns. So that's really interesting about how to shift consumers onto a plant-based diet. So the last couple of slides is really to think about how can we change our diet. And this is taking some information from the British Dietetic Association. And they support the messages to eat what's in season, cut food waste, and to eat more plants. And another way of showing that, quite like this one, from their One Blue Dot report, which seems quite intuitive. So red means eat less. So less red meat, less processed meat, more plant proteins, more whole grain cereals, more fruit and vegetables, more hydration through water, and reduce food waste. So I think this is a really nice infographic to share. And then in terms of the future, in terms of thinking about the food industry, I think reformulation is going to be key, new product development, and also educating consumers about provenance and health was a clear outcome. So finally, food for thought is, we all eat. So everybody in the room are going to be experts in food because we all do it every day. And we should consider each and every eating episode a chance to positively influence our health. But not only that, we need to be thinking about how it can influence our health, but also the health of the planet. And just to say thank you, to keep in touch. And thank you to my funders and colleagues. And just to flag, maybe if MD's going to Paris to the International Congress on Nutrition, I am going there as well. I'm leading up a member-led symposium. I can see you there, or you're more than welcome to come to Aberdeen for our meeting in September, our UK Congress on obesity, and we've got an early career researcher event as well. So hopefully might see some of you in person there. In case I was sharing slides, I'm more than happy to do that. I put in some links to some of the resources that I think are really nice to read, particularly for those of you that are maybe involved in teaching, where to get some nice references. So yes, just to say thank you very much and keep in touch. I don't know if I've got some time for questions. Keep me right.
No question. Thank you very much for very interesting speech. And now Katarzyna Socha invited next speaker.
I have the pleasure to introduce the next plenary speaker, Professor Kazim Sashin. Professor Kazim Sashin is the Dean from the Faculty of Veterinary Medicine in Firat University in Elazığ, Professor of Nutrition Department and Principal Member and Member of Executive Committee of the Turkish Academy of Science. Chair of the Food and Nutrition Working Group, Turkish Academy of Science. He is an author above 360 publications with very high citation index, 18 books and more than 100 funded research projects with international collaborations. Holds patents granted by the American Patent Institute. Active participant, European Union 6 framework program projects. His professional interests include nutrition, prevention of chronic disease, stress, cancer, and obesity. Professor Kazim Sashin supports our university in different international activities. Thank you very much, Kazim. We have a great honor to welcome you, and we are friends from many years. Dear Professor Kazim, the stage is yours.
Hello, everybody. No, I'm happy to be here because I have a collaboration for a long time. Thank you very much for invitation me, especially Katarzyna Socha. I say Kasia. Yeah, dzień dobry. I know some words with Polish, jak się masz, like that. Yeah. Thank you very much for inviting me. Now, I will talk about from diet to chronic disease prevention, how phytochemicals influence stress pathways. Especially, I want to share our data from lab with you, okay? Of course, stress is very important, you know. Sorry, first slide. Yeah. Stress, a complex physiological and psychological response, and is triggered by both internal, like anxiety, and hormonal imbalance, and external factors such as heat stress, environmental factors, or cold stress, and of course, like trauma. There are several stressors that acute events. We 2 years ago in Turkey, for example, earthquakes. It's very it's not good for us. It's very stressful, and the natural disasters also, lifestyle-related stress, sleep deprivation, poor diet, extreme temperature, I told you, cold, heat, is very important. Environmental exposure, light, noise, pollution. And of course, stressor causes something in the body, for example, cardiovascular disease, like hypertension, stroke, and metabolic disorders, type 2 diabetes mellitus, obesity, gastrointestinal disorders, mental health issue. And also stress implies neuropsychiatric conditions such as depression, anxiety, and respiratory disorders like asthma, and contributes immune dysregulation, and also reproductive disturbance, e.g. menstrual irregulators, and musculoskeletal disorders, and dermatological conditions like eczema and psoriasis. The stress response is mediated by intricate cellular signaling networks which detect, interpret, and respond to external or internal stressor. These stress pathways regulate cellular homeostasis and enabling cells to adapt to challenge, initiate repair mechanism, undergo programmed cell death if damage is erasable. Key molecular mechanism of stress. Now, maybe everybody knows this, but in summary, I want to say something. For example, activation of hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, stress signal initiate hypothalamus, and then release corticotropin releasing hormone. Corticotropin releasing hormones simulates AGTH, adrenocorticotropic hormone release, and AGTH acts on the adrenal cortex, leading to release to cortisol. And also another mechanism, sympathetic nervous system activation. Stress activates locus coeruleus and atomic centers, and it triggers release of catecholamine, and this increase heart rate, blood pressure, and redirect glucose and lipids to vital organs. And another mechanism on the antioxidant mechanism is oxidative stress mitochondrial function. Cortisol and catecholamine increases reactive oxygen species, and the reactive oxygen species causes oxidative damage to lipids, protein, DNA, and impair mitochondrial function. And another mechanism, inflammatory signaling pathways. Chronic stress elevates pro-inflammatory cytokines such as interleukins, TNF-alpha, and activates NF-kappa B, JAK-STAT pathways, and induces macrophage and microglial activation in peripheral tissue and brain. And another mechanism, epigenetic modification. Stress modify DNA methylation, histone modification, and microRNA expression, and also heat shock protein is very important. Activation there or dysregulation there is very important in stress mechanism. Because heat shock proteins act as molecular chaperone, refold misfolded proteins, prevent protein aggregation, facilitate proteasomal degradation. And this slide on the cellular stress response and key signaling pathways. You see NF-kappa B, it promotes inflammation and immune activation. Especially we work these pathways, therefore I show this one. MAPK, it regulates apoptosis and proliferation. JNK, specifically activated by stress-induced apoptosis. And PA3 key mTOR pathways is control metabolism, cell growth, protein synthesis. And the heat shock proteins, they act molecular chaperones. Nutrient transporter, recently we worked this transporter, like GLUT4, FATP, fatty acid transport, protein transport, and glucose transport. Lipid metabolism in the liver, we also CRAPB1 is related to lipogenesis. PPR, gamma, and alpha, they regulate fatty acid, fatty oxidation. Okay. Now, we tested many study phytochemical supplementation to diet or maybe administered to rats. Because phytochemicals have many activity we know very well. For example, you see in generally, phytochemical has antioxidant activity, anti-inflammation activity, anti-proliferation activity, anti-angiogenesis, modulation of nuclear receptors per family, modulation of Fas2 and Fas1 and 2 enzymes, especially we focus on the NRF-kappa B in this effect, for these effects, modulation of growth factor and VNTB catenin signalings, enhancements of kappa junction communication, induction of cell differentiation, apoptosis induction, immune modulation. Yeah, this is data from my lab, but it unpublished data. I show you first time in this Congress. We know stress, I told about stress, it's very important. We produce new products. It's called, we combined magnesium and tannin in this study called magnesium tannin. It's a novel combo, novel products. Of course, we tested firstly magnesium alone, of L-tannin alone, and looked their effects, then combined, and we see it have synergic effect and more, there is a more effects on the pathways or the, for example, we tested these especially in the brain activity we test, and we see, then I decided, because I know magnesium L-tannin in the first study, we tested on the stress model also. Then we combine and test in this stress model. For this purpose, we also tested nicotine ribosid amide in this project. It's supported by Turkish Academy of Science Council. In this study, of course, we want to see in the normal condition how is it affects the combination of magnesium L-tannin. And another stress group, we were reared under stress condition, and we used different doses of magnesium tannin in this study. You see, it was, you can see it was 100, this one 100, this one 200, and this one 400 milligram kilogram body weight. This model is like human. In your day, what you are doing, for example, it was about 40 days. Duration of study was 40 days. For example, for first day, we rat reared cold resistance, and second day, inclinization of the home engage, and other third day you see flushing, isolation, damp bedding, no stressor plate at 9 days, flashing light, for example, water deprivation, damp bedding, cold resistance, you see isolation or cold water damping, water deprivation, like that. Our purpose is to play the stressor like human model. For example, we are in Istanbul, maybe you see traffic is very bad. We are stressing, yeah, like that. Noise and the pollution, all things is for stress factors. This figure show body weight how change. You see, this is magnesium tannin in this stress group. Magnesium tannin, this one. This is control group. Of course, it's good. And this one, this is stressed group. And we supplemented magnesium. This one, you see, but body weight in stressed group decreased, but magnesium tannin improved the body weight. In this slide, you see intestinal villus height in the stress group, in the control group, normal group, it not affected villus height, and also creep date not affected. But in the chronic variable stress group, you see magnesium tannin supplementation increased the villus height and creep depth by dose supplementation, you see. Then we focus on the mechanism. In the mechanism, we selected some parameters related glucose, for example, PPRB, insulin. This is insulin resistance, for example, PPR gamma, sirtuin, and this is related with lipid metabolism. You know, sirtuin supports mitochondrial health and involved in lipid metabolism. This one, and also insulin sensitive stress resistance. CRABB1 and the controls fatty acid and cholesterol metabolism. PASN catalyze fatty acid synthesis. This GLUT2, it related to glucose uptake or transport, and irisin, and also is same. It's related for insulin signaling. We selected this parameter, and we see, you see, magnesium tannin increased PPR gamma and sirtuinin, and CRP, and decreased CRP beta, CRP1. You see in the linearly, the magnesium tannin effects was dose dependent. Yeah. Then we focus on the nutrient transporter. You see nutrient transporters, clotting for tight junction proteins, they called. Clotting 1, clotting 4, aclodin, and the mucous barrier protein, MUC2, is a component of intestinal mucus protecting against pathogen, and glucose transporter. You see magnesium tannin, and also only affected in RAS, reared under chronic variable stressor. You see, it increased this clotting, and also increased clotting 4, ocludin, and this one, and MUC2, it's increased, and also it increased glucose transporter. It means magnesium tannin, dependent of those, improve nutrient transporter. Maybe it can increase digestibility. In some model, we also measure digestibility. I show you in next slide, maybe. This is very important data for us. Yeah. And this data also related with protein transporter, this one, and this is related with fatty acid transporter. You can see it increased these transporters, protein transporter or fatty transporter, improved by the supplementation of magnesium tannin. This is another study we done in our lab. We supplemented lycopene in heat stressed lycopene to diet and used in heat stressed broiler in chicken model. This one we measured how its effect under stress, and we selected stress group, stressor, heat stress, environmental stress, because in Turkey it's too hot some regions. It's important for us. You can see in this study, maybe I have figure also. Sorry. Study design is not important, maybe. We used thermoneutral, one group, control group was reared under thermoneutral, and the stress group is too high. It's about 34 degree, 8 hours per day, because if they reared all day, they can adapt it. Because we used 8 hours, we applied stress about 8 hours. Okay. Feed intake in stressed group, stressed group decreased, lipid peroxidation increased, antioxidant enzyme status decreased, lycopene supplementation improved the growth performance, and antioxidant enzyme MDA, KIP1, and NRF2 activated cellular antioxidant defense. You see in this slide, there is the KIP1 and NRF2 is very important for in antioxidant system. KIP1 is a negative regulatory of NRF2 and promotes its degradation under non-stress condition. NRF2 is a master regulator of antioxidant defense. You see in the stress group and also in the thermoneutral group, in the normal group, it's also effects. And in here, NRF2 also affected by dietary lycopene level. Yeah, we conducted this study with Maria Borowska and Kasia and Sylvia and Renata. We have paper with together, a lot of paper maybe. Yeah, I hope we increase the collaboration. We tested Berberis vulgaris root extract in the same model, in the heat stress model. You see, stress also affects feed intake, antioxidant enzyme. Berberis vulgaris supplementation improved performance, MDA, NF-kappa B, heat shock proteins, hepatic NRF2, hemoxygen expression, suggest activation, and this, as a result, it suggests activation of antioxidant defense system. This one. And also in this study, we measured G-JON and G-FOS and COX-2 heat shock proteins. You see, COX-2 is inflammation marker. By the Berberis vulgaris is decreased, and component of activated protein 1 transcription factor, G-JON, G-FOS, and also you see is decreased. Another paper about picocyanin. You see, picocyanin we used in this study, nicotine ribosid and picocyanin oligopeptide is phytonutrient found in blue-green algae. Because we use this one, we know it has a great antioxidant effects, anti-inflammation effects. We combine it with nicotine amide ribosid. Is in the metabolism is have a great role, I know. In this study, you see we measured relative telomere length. You know, is telomere shortening. is recognized biomarker of cellular aging and stress-induced DNA damage. In this study, we induce stress by corticosterone. We administrated corticosterone to rats. And you see, this is corticosterone group. Telomerase length is very decreased. Nicotine ribosid increased, and picocyanin, and you see, and also decreased. There is also difference. And combination more effective than using alone. This is another model. We used corticosterone in this study as stressor. And also in this study, we measured the interleukin, TNF alpha, interleukin 1 beta, interleukin 6, 8, you see. It improved inflammation studies. Now, as a conclusion, I can say phytochemicals, you see, can improve antioxidant defense, restore mitochondrial and intestinal integrity, and reduce inflammation, preserve neuronal plasticity under stress condition. They target multiple signaling cascades, including NRF2, NRA, NF-kappa B, heat shock protein, offering multi-facet approach to stress adaptation. The potential role of phytochemicals in the prevention of stress have been conducted in cell culture, animal models, and human. Of course, we need more clinical study to investigate the role of phytochemicals in the prevention of stress or chronic disease. Human study we should do. I want to acknowledge Turkish Scientific Technological Research Council for support projects, and also Turkish Academy of Science, Fırat University, Amori, Wayne State, and also I want to thank especially Maria Boroska, Kasha, and my other colleague for their collaboration. Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here. Thank you. I hope it's okay.
Thank you very much, Professor Kazim Sashin, for excellent lecture, for your coming and acceptation our invitation.
Thank you, Kasha. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
And our next speaker is Professor Irena Kesser. Irena Kesser is a full professor of the Faculty of Food Technology and Biotechnology, University of Zagreb in Croatia, and now also the head of Department on Food Quality Control. Her scientific interests are focused on the field of assessing the diet quality of different population groups, the impact of diet on bone mineral density, the development of tools for assessing the diet quality, and the field of randomized control trials. Her more recent research activity is the connection between dietary intake and body composition, especially in proportion of fat, muscle, and bone tissue in elderly. So, if I don't know, you have welcome. Oh, yeah. Welcome, Irena. I would like to say the floor is yours, but I only say the screen is yours. Please, welcome.
Thank you, Magda. Good day to everybody. I'm happy to be at this conference today with you, but at the same time I'm sad because I'm not in person there, only online. And I would like to thank the organizer of the conference to invited me to have a lecture. Okay, the title of my lecture today is The Benefits and Risks of Plant-Based Diet in Elderly, because the elderly is the one population group that is usually the topic of my research. When we are talking about a healthy diet, it's usually we are talking about a diet that is with appropriate energy intake, with less saturated fatty acids, less sodium added sugars, and so on. But one of the characteristics of a healthy diet is diversity of plant-based foods. So at the beginning of the lecture, I can say that more research is needed on the impact of consuming plant-based diet on health outcomes among population groups with unique nutritional needs, such as older adults. Plant-based diets are recommended for the reduction of chronic diseases, and all the types of vegetarian diet are in fact a plant-based diet that comprised of vegetables, fruits, whole grains, legumes, nuts, and seeds, with or without dairy-based foods and eggs. There's a reason to think that the number of older vegetarians may be on the rise because of the older segment of the population is growing more rapidly than any other age group. And also some evidence suggests that the number of vegetarians is growing. And also the life expectancy may be higher for vegetarians than for non-vegetarians. So there are all the reasons why maybe the number of older vegetarians is now higher. Some studies were investigated the dietary status of older vegetarians. So the one study in Dutch vegetarians determined that the intakes of fiber, carbohydrate, fat, and protein, so all micronutrients, were closer to the recommendations than the intakes of non-vegetarians. And also we know that in vegetarians the iron status usually lower, so they determined that although iron intake was adequate, the higher incidence of poor iron status determined among the vegetarians. And in the study with subjects of mean age 80 years and older in Belgium and Netherlands, found that vegetarians had higher mean blood cholesterol concentrations, and that calorie intake was below recommendations among vegetarian women. And when they compare vegetarians and non-vegetarians, they determined that there were no differences in vitamin B12 status between those groups. So all those studies indicate that most older vegetarians have dietary intake that is comparable to those with omnivores. But the dietary adequacy in all older people is an issue of concern because energy intake is often decreases in all older people, and because of that, requiring diets to become more nutrient dense. So because all older people have lower energy intake, they should include in their diet the foods that are with higher nutrient density. So the high quality, healthy plant-based diet that is high in nutrient dense foods such as grains, fruits, vegetables, beans, and nuts can positively influence muscle strength and physical performance in older adults. And so health benefits of plant-based diet for diseases such as cardiovascular disease, cancer, and diabetes are well documented, but the impact of plant-based diet on physical performance and function, particularly in aging populations, are less studied and remain inconclusive. In the literature review entitled Plant-Based Diets and Cardiovascular Disease in Older Adults, all the studies that were analyzed in this review, so 17 studies, show at least one positive association between plant-based diets and cardiovascular health in older adults. So they determined in all those studies that significant association between plant-based diet adherence and reduction in cardiovascular risk factors such as low density lipoprotein level, blood pressure, and body mass index. So there's evidence for potential of plant-based diets as effective dietary strategies to prevent cardiovascular disease in older adults and also to reduce the risk of mortality. So for prevention of cardiovascular diseases, we can recommend plant-based diets so that with lots of fruits and vegetables, legumes, and whole grains. So the plant-based diets had lots of benefits, as we said, in prevention of more chronic diseases. But we have to say that in older age, lots of changes in body composition occur, and certain ones are associated with sarcopenia, what is a syndrome that are present in older age and is characterized with low muscle strength and low muscle quantity or quality. So the decrease in lean mass and increase in fat mass are the most striking changes associated with aging. So the skeletal muscle mass and bone mass are the main components of the lean mass that decrease with increasing aging. So according to the sarcopenia, we have to take care of adequate diet in older age because one of the causes of sarcopenia is a nutrition-related sarcopenia that can be results of inadequate dietary intake of energy and or the inadequate intake of protein. So we have to take care as a nutritionist that older people should have adequate dietary intake of energy and or protein. So at the older age, it's a present reduction in energy requirements. Aging is also associated with reduced appetite, so-called anorexia of aging. So the older people in general have inadequate quantity of food that they are consume, so it could be resulted with lower energy intake. And people with lower energy intake, more muscle tissue could be lost during that period of bed rest when compared with individuals who have adequate energy intake. According to the protein, reduced protein intake also means accelerated muscle loss. So as I already said, during aging, we have lower energy needs, lower food intake, and the results of all of these things are lower total energy intake and as a consequence also lower protein intake. So what are the recommendations for protein intake? When the daily dietary protein intake falls below 0.8 grams per kilograms of body weight per day, it becomes difficult to maintain muscle mass. So for the prevention of muscle loss, protein intakes should be at least 1 to 1.25 grams per kilogram per day, and optimally 1.5 grams per kilogram per day is recommended to prevent muscle loss. And of course, muscle loss cannot be completely prevented even when daily protein intake is increased in older adults. According to the recommendation of protein amounts during the meals, the specific recommendation for older people is to consume 0.4 grams per kilogram per meal to limit muscle loss, or 30 grams of high-quality protein at 3 meals throughout the day to stimulate muscle protein synthesis. So the adequate postprandial stimulation of muscle protein synthesis is a key factor in maintaining muscle loss. So because of that, it's very important that older adults have adequate intake of high-quality proteins during all meals in a day. Also, is important is amino acid composition of protein ingested, because the postprandial increase in circulating levels of essential amino acid, particularly leucine, seems to represent a key anabolic stimulus for increasing muscle protein synthesis. So the investigation also showed that ingestion of, for example, whey protein results in even greater postprandial rates of muscle protein synthesis when compared, for example, with ingestion of casein. So the amino acid composition is very important for the anabolic properties of various protein sources. So older adults should be encouraged to consume foods that are source of high quality dietary protein, and also because of that, excellent source of essential amino acids. So the foods that are good source of high quality dietary proteins are lean meat and dairy products, as a plant-based foods rich in leucine, such as legumes, and also beef and fish, also as foods rich in leucine that can help in that better muscle protein synthesis. So we can recommend older people to consume adequate amount of high-quality dietary protein to maintain muscle mass, physical function, and to support healthy aging, so that we can alleviate decline in muscle function, muscle wasting, and frailty. We should recommend proteins derived from animal sources, because of their high amounts of essential amino acids that are more digestible and bioavailable. And also is important to say that when you compare protein quality between animal source foods and plant-based foods, we can conclude that animal source foods like meat, dairy, eggs, for example, are highly digestible, more than 90%, compared with the plant-based foods that they have lower digestibility, 45 to 80%. And it's also determined that amino acid, for example, from soy or wheat, are more readily converted to urea than those from milk, so which result in lower potential of these plant-based foods to stimulate muscle protein synthesis. So we can say that plant-based foods as a source of protein should be present, of course, in a diet of older adults, but for that adequate muscle protein synthesis, we have to also recommend an intake of animal source foods. So, in fact, when we compare amino acid profile of animal source foods and plant-based foods, we can say that when we combine all those foods, we can achieve that complementary amino acid composition, and also the combination of only plant-based foods we can achieve complementary amino acid composition, but it can be challenging among older adults because they have higher protein requirements, and they are probably not accustomed to consuming a variety of plant-based foods, so it can be harder for them to achieve adequate protein intake with all essential amino acids when they are consuming only plant-based foods. And also, you know that we have some plant-based foods that contain some only some essential amino acid. For example, legumes contain they are low in sulfur-containing amino acids such as cysteine and methionine, as well as in tryptophan. While cereals, nuts, and seeds they are low in lysine, but when you combine those foodstuffs, we can achieve full amino acid profile. And we can conclude that some plant-based diet can be effective for muscle protein synthesis as an animal-based diet. So we can achieve that those adequate intake of essential amino acid. But as I said earlier, it can be harder for older people to take care of those combination of all those plant-based foods. In a study with the title "Vegan Diet for Older Adults: Is it adequate, or does it have potential impact on muscle mass and strength?" They concluded in that study that because of lower bioavailability and functionality of proteins in vegan diet and their lower essential amino acid content and their deficiency of some essential amino acids, they in fact conclude that vegan diet increase the risk of inadequate protein intake at older age, and that all current strategies for improving the anabolic properties of plant-based foods are not feasible for many older adults. So like a foodstuff that is could be and should be the part of the healthy diet of older people are of course legumes, because they are nutrient-dense foods and it's a good source of protein, fiber, some minerals like iron, zinc, and potassium, and also the B vitamins and vitamin E and A. And they are also the important source of dietary bioactive compounds such as phenolic acid, tannins, and flavonoids, because they are important because their antioxidant potential, amongst other health protective effects that they have. So the legumes should, of course, be the part of older people's diet. And also evidence suggests that legume consumption is associated with positive outcomes on the cardiovascular risk factors, such as they have positive impact on blood lipid profile, glycemic control, inflammatory status, oxidative stress, as well as gut microbiota composition. Legumes also are good because they can have control of body weight because they give greater satiety. Carotenoids are also phytochemicals that are, of course, good for the health of all people. We can find them in the foods that are part of the plant-based diet, such as fruits and vegetables. And the 6 major dietary carotenoids, such as alpha-carotene, beta-carotene, and beta-cryptoxanthin, lutein, zeaxanthin, and lycopene, they're all have good benefits as an antioxidant, as a component of antioxidant defense system. And some epidemiological studies in older adults show that low serum or plasma carotenoids are independently associated with low skeletal muscle strength and impaired physical performance. So that epidemiological studies with older adults show that carotenoids could have a positive impact in muscle strength and physical performance in older adults. Another risk of plant-based diet may be deficiency in certain micronutrients, such as calcium and vitamin B12, because they are both critical nutrients in the diet of older adults. So B12, as we know, is not present in plant foods, and some foodstuffs such as tempeh, spirulina, nutritional yeast could be the source of vitamin B12 in a diet, but these foods are unreliable sources of vitamin B12. So, as we know, older adults are at higher risk of vitamin B12 deficiency because of the lower absorption that it decreases with aging. So, to prevent deficiency in older adults, they should consume vitamin B12 fortified foods or supplements. And because deficiency of B12 is not the cause of the lower intake with food, then impaired absorption of cobalamin from food as a result of atrophic gastritis, which leads to reduced ability of vitamin from the food. And also the absorption of vitamin B12 from food decreases with age, but absorption of crystalline vitamin B12 does not. Because of that is a recommendation that older people should use fortified foods or supplements so that they meet most of their vitamin B12 needs. But in some studies, when they compared older vegetarians and older non-vegetarians, that concluded that in fact, older vegetarians could have better vitamin B12 status because they are consume vitamin B12 from fortified foods and supplements, and they could have better vitamin B12 status with when they compare with older non-vegetarians who rely on the meat, poultry, fish as a main source of vitamin B12. And according to the calcium, calcium is usually critical nutrient in the diet of older people because the recommended intake is higher in older age, and because of older people are usually consume less food, so it could be harder to achieve that recommended intake. And also it's problem in older age that many older adults are unable to drink milk because of lactose intolerance that is usual in during the aging. So the people who had milk and dairy products in their diet in the past, for them it could be difficult to identify alternative sources of calcium. So nutritionists can help older people identify a wide variety of calcium-rich foods, including cruciferous vegetables or calcium-fortified plant milks and tofu and lactose-free milk. So it's as I already said, it's difficult to have adequate calcium intake in older age, even when inclusion of dietary foods are in the diet. So, in fact, use of supplements and fortified foods could have benefits for all older people. And in conclusion, I can say that existing evidence indicate that potential importance of diet of adequate quality to ensure sufficient intake of protein, micronutrients, and antioxidant nutrients in older age, but the optimizing diet throughout life may be key for preventing sarcopenia and all other syndromes and conditions that are present in older age, and also that optimizing diet throughout life can help in promoting physical capability also in older age. But what we can say for plant-based diet for older people in conclusion, so taking into account that few studies have assessed impact of consuming plant-based diet on muscle mass and strength among older adults, so further research is needed because the loss of muscle mass and strength that occur with aging is a huge public health problem. So some studies show that plant-based diet could have a positive impact on the muscle health. And plant-based diet certainly has a significant positive impact on health, but in the case of older people, it can also be risky because of all those conditions and diseases that are characteristic for them. And thank you very much for your attention.
Dear Irena, thank you for your lecture and for your participation. We are sending we are saying warm greetings from Białystok to you and see you again. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Before the coffee break, I would like to invite you to the join photo on the stairs. Yes, to the stairs. Yes. Please come on to the stage. Sorry. Dear guests, coffee break will be downstairs in main hall, in vestibule. We will starting.
Tak, o właśnie. Spróbuję zaprosić tych, którzy jeszcze... Good morning after the break. It is my great pleasure to welcome all participants of this conference to the second session. We have two lectures. The first theme and speaker will be presented by Professor Kazim. And the second team will be presented by Professor Magda Górnicka.
Yeah, thank you, Chair Professor Lydia. Thank you very much. Now, first speaker, Professor Joanna Korczyk-Sazap. I'm sorry for maybe wrong mistake. Yeah, I'm so sorry. Joanna worked in the Faculty of Agrobiology and Food Resource, Slovak University of Agriculture in Nitra. I have been there. Professor Marta, they are working with Professor Marta, team's leader, I think, Marta. Research focuses on diet therapy of non-communicable diseases, including cardiovascular disease, obesity, diabetes mellitus, and lifestyle-related disorders. Professor Miroslav Haban's research specialization encompasses medicinal, aromatic, and spice plants, pharmacogenesis, pharmacobotany, alternative and bioenergy crops, as well as sustainable tourism and agritourism development. Professor Yonna research interests center on the influence of agroecological factors on the quantitative and qualitative characteristic of medicinal, aromatic, and spice plants, cereals, and pseudo-cereals, with additional focus on the sustainable and organic agricultural systems. She has been an active researcher on 17 national and international scientific projects. What is? Joanna, please, you can start. Hi.
Dzień dobry, nie wiem, czy mnie słychać. Chyba tak.
Tak słychać. Zapraszamy.
Nie wiem, czy mnie słychać. Czy... Nie słyszę nic.
Ale my počujeme teba.
Dobrze, już zobaczyłam. Ale ja jakby nie słyszę nic, z Państwa nie słyszę nic, ale spróbuję teraz... Już mogę mówić, tak?
Tak.
Chyba tak. Dobrze, dziękuję bardzo. Także cieszę się, że mogę chociaż takim sposobem się przywitać, bo nie udało mi się przyjechać, a chciałam, bo do Białymstoku nie byłam nigdy. Powiem parę słów jeszcze po angielsku przed tym, że I would like to take an adventure of opportunity to speak in my native language. because I have never had opportunity to give a lecture in Polish. So the presentation will be in English with some medicinal plants names and also provided in Slovak for comparison. So I would like to take this and tak więc po polski zacznę. Będzie to jakby prezentacja w ramach tego czasu, który mamy. Zdążyłam tylko przygotować 3 choroby w ramach tej 20 minut albo 15, abyśmy się zmieścili. Tak więc rośliny lecznicze, zioła dostarczają świeżych i konserwowanych surowców zawierających substancje bioaktywne, które korzystnie wpływają na zdrowie ludzi, zwierząt i roślin. I definicja ziół jest różna i kategoryzacja w zależności od organizacji. Tak więc tu widać na przykład inna jest definicja w ramach organizacji FAO, WHO, EMA albo ICAS. I tak i nazwy też często się pokrywają. To znaczy tu widać, że jak gdyby w różnych językach plus minus ta nazwa roślin, ziół leczniczych jest podobna. W Słowacji, w ramach Słowacji zioła, które są pozyskiwane ze środowiska naturalnego, top 10, najwięcej się zbiera róży dzikiej, kasztanowiec, tu jest 2, potem pokrzywa zwyczajna, czarny bez, lipa, krwawnik, macierzanka, rzepik, podbiał i pierwiosnek. To są właśnie teraz dane takie najnowsze, a w ramach roślin leczniczych, które są zbierane z pól uprawnych w Słowacji, tak najwięcej się uprawia ostropesta plamistego, potem babka lancetowata, rumianek, lawenda, mięta pieprzowa, melisa, nagietek, szałwia, jeżówka purpurowa i tymianek. Nie wiem, jak to jest w Polsce, ale w ramach Słowacji właśnie teraz to się zmienia też w ramach różnych lat, tak, ale teraz ostatnio właśnie taka jest kategoryzacja. Otyłość będzie pierwszą z tych chorób, także już wiemy, bo już żeśmy mieli w tej pierwszej prezentacji, że jest to nadmiar zgromadzonej tkanki tłuszczowej, który prowadzi do problemów zdrowotnych. Światowo około 1,7 miliarda ludzi ma nadwagę, a 7,25 milionów ludzi cierpi na otyłość. W Słowacji powyżej 15 lat nadwagę i otyłość ma 54%, ponad 54% ludzi, a poniżej 20 roku życia 34% ma nadwagę, a 10% ma otyłość. Także już wiemy, że konsekwencje otyłości są cukrzyca, choroby układu krążenia, układu oddechowego, choroby układu pokarmowego, problemy psychiczne, dysfunkcja seksualna, nieprzystosowanie społeczne. Tak więc w ramach fitoprofilaktyki nadwagi i otyłości wykorzystują się też rośliny lecznicze, które wspomagają trawienie, działają przeczyszczająco, tłumią apetyt albo działają jako środki moczopędne. Okrem, na przykład tutaj taki przykład profilaktyczny sałatki mam świeżych roślin, w postaci sałatek, tam jest mniszek lekarski, pokrzywa, rzeżucha, czosnek niedźwiedzi i cykoria. Taka sałatka właśnie w ramach prewencji. Również i chlorofil, i substancje gorzkie też wspierają właśnie trawienie. Są też i rośliny, które posiadają śluzy, polisacharydy złożone z różnych węglowodanów i kwasów urynowych, które nie są rozkładane przez enzymy przewodu pokarmowego, także nie mają wartości energetycznych. I z tych roślin to jest na przykład, tutaj mamy przykłady, to jest po łacinie, tak więc to jest po słowacku, a tu jest co się zbiera, jaka część rośliny. Tak więc prawoślas, tu jest ślas maurytański i lęk zwyczajny. Wtedy pierwsza i trzecia jest w Europejskim Kodeksie. Oprócz tego na przykład jedną z taką roślin, którą się wykorzystuje na otyłość, jest też kruszyna olchowa, Frangula alnus. Tam się wykorzystuje kora i wykorzystuje się ją jako środek przeczyszczający. Dodaje się ją na bazie jakichś herbat, mieszanek w ramach opróżniania. Wymiotnie powoduje wymioty, ale wtedy właśnie podrażnienie błon śluzowych nastaje, także trzeba, wyższe dawki są toksyczne nad 15 lat, nad wiek 15 lat i kobiety w ciąży nie mogą używać. Tu mam rośliny lecznicze do przyspieszenia i wspomagania przemiany materii. Są chrzan pospolity, morszczyn, tarnina, cytrynowiec, mlecz, Taraxacum officinale, pokrzywa zwyczajna, urtycadioica. Tak, to są takie przykłady tych roślin. Tu są rośliny o działaniu przeczyszczającym, a z tym właśnie znakiem, tak, to są te, które są roślinami toksycznymi. Agar, rebarbar dłoniasty, bezczarny, tutaj Sambucus nigra. W ramach reżimu pitnego przy nadwadze każdy człowiek jakby traci wodę w postaci moczu i stolca, ale w ramach tych różnych diet człowiek właśnie z nadwagą i otyłością mają powszechny problem z przestrzeganiem reżimu pitnego, bo często myślą, że im więcej będą pić, tym będą bardziej nawodnieni, a otyli pacjenci często szukają rozwiązania otyłości w dodatkach żywnościowych na bazie odwodnienia. Tak więc to jest też błąd. Gdyż dzienna ilość wody, którą trzeba wypić, tak musi być to już każdy wie chyba, 1,5 litra do 2 litrów płynu dziennie, dochód dzienny minimalny. I przez cały dzień głównie trzeba to równomiernie przestrzegać. Nie można poczuć pragnienia, bo już jak pragnienie się czuje, tak to już jest za późno, to jest jedna rzecz, a uczucie pragnienia i z wiekiem znika. Tak więc trzeba ten schemat picia dostosować do diety i środowiska. A inną ilość, wiadomo, trzeba wypić w spoczynku, w cieniu. Tu są właśnie w ramach tego pitnego reżimu różne herbatki ziołowe, wieloskładnikowe, które powodują właśnie, mają działanie metaboliczne, łagodne działanie przeczyszczające,
albo wspomagające, moczopędnie działają, uspokajające, wyciszające, albo i zmieniające nastrój. To są te trzecie. Razem ze studentami chodzimy też na różne takie wycieczki do różnych takich zakładów, gdzie produkują właśnie czaje. Jedną z nich w Słowacji jest Herbex, Fitofarma, a potem Agrokarpaty Mijawa. A tu są przykłady właśnie z każdej z tych firm, właśnie takich herbat, które pomagają tu jest i po polsku napisane, patrzy się, herbata odchudzająca. Także to są właśnie, mają w składzie różne zioła, które pomagają. Takie na szczupłą sylwetkę. Także celowym efektem terapeutycznym głównie jest zmiana stylu życia. Stosując dietę odchudzającą, ale zmniejszyć spożycie kalorii, zwiększyć wydatki energetyczne, zbilansować dietę, profilaktykę w ramach tych roślin leczniczych, profilaktykę i w ramach fitoterapii, kontrola wagi głównie. A tu mamy takie przykłady różnych diet, które się różne osoby różnie używają, tylko tu widać właśnie w tym właśnie górnym rzędzie, że trzeba nie stosować ich, a głównie unikać ich. Bo wiemy, tu jest dieta śródziemnomorska, tam jest zdrowy sposób odżywania, dużo ryb, wyjątkowe spożycie jakby czerwonego mięsa, czerwone wino, jedna szklanka dziennie, ale właśnie nieodpowiednie jest dla osób nietolerujących ryby. Następna dieta, spowoduje potem właśnie w tych wadach tutaj, że konsumenci nie mogą zaprzestać dodawania soli, bo spowoduje to jest jakby zalecana dla osób z wysokim ciśnieniem, ale wadą jest ta druga strona. Tu mamy jeszcze dietę, jeszcze raz, że nie stosować ich, są tylko takie przykłady. Wolumetryczna dieta, a fleksytariańska. W ramach zalet tu jest w ramach tej wolumetrycznej, że duże porcje niskokalorycznej żywności. Nie będziemy czuć głodu, wyczerpania. Różnorodność jest spożycia energii, ale wadami jest to, że po prostu małe porcje niekiedy się spożywa wysokokalorycznej czekolady, niejakich steaków i takich rzeczy i to po prostu i tak nie ma efektu. To samo ta dieta fleksytariańska. Tam jest minusem też nieodpowiednie dla konsumentów, którzy preferują dietę bogatą w mięso i produkty mięsne. Potem jeszcze keto dieta. Tam jest wykluczone spożycie źródeł węglowodanów, ryż, ziemniaki, owoce, ciasta i makarony się nie je. Może powodować to bóle mięśni, bóle głowy, ogólne zmęczenie, zaparcia. Istnieje wielkie ryzyko zwiększenia stężenia kwasu moczowego, a post przerywany to jest, że 16-18, to na przykład 16 godzin się nie je, 8 się je. No, tam są zalety, że jedzenie między 8 i 22, ale wadą jest to, że się przejada w trakcie właśnie tych posiłków. A te mogą spowodować właśnie problemy trawienne, prowadzące do ostrych zapaleń trzustki, do jojo efektu na końcu diety. Także jeszcze raz, żadne diety nie są dobre. Następną częścią, którą chcę właśnie teraz opisać, jest cukrzyca. Wiemy, że cukrzyca to jest zaburzenie metabolizmu glukozy i jest to poważna choroba cywilizacyjna, która dotyka coraz większej ilości osób. W ramach częstość występowania cukrzycy na Słowacji, wśród ludności Słowacji, wzrosła w ostatnich latach 4-krotnie. Także w Słowacji co 20 osoba ma problemy z długotrwałym, wysokim poziomem cukru we krwi, a co 10 osoba po 40 roku życia często sobie nawet nie zdaje sprawy z tej choroby. Tak więc jest to problem w Słowacji bardzo duży. Jeszcze moment. No, także, mają problemy, no i dotyczące tych czynniki ryzyka cukrzycy są genetyczne predyspozycje, otyłość, brak aktywności fizycznej, stres, abym skróciła, bo już nie chcę tyle czasu brać. Także typowymi objawami cukrzycy już nie będę się zajmować. Dieta diabetyków powinna zawierać produkty o wyższej zawartości węglowodanów. Wspomagające cukrzycę są liczne rośliny, które zawierają glukokininy, a aktywne są też takie, które magazynują inulinę. Tu mamy przykłady tych roślin. Bazylia, majeranek, koperek, świeże warzywa liściaste. Dobrze, także wiem, że już teraz mi właśnie mówi tu koleżanka, że już bym miała, także tą prezentację potem zostawię. Ja tylko ją przejdę, że właśnie tu są rośliny, które mają inulinę, tamte inne rośliny, które wspomagają leczenie cukrzycy w medycynie ludowej, które obniżają stężenie glukozy we krwi. Inula, helenium, cynamon. Różne herbaty, które się używa w ramach cukrzycy. Potem jeszcze miałam też choroby z wątrobą, ale jest to bardzo duży jeszcze taki, bo miałam to 40 stron, także jest to takie dość duży, tu jest właśnie w ramach ostropest plamisty, wytwarza się, u nas się produkują leki Lagoza, które na lekarskie recepty się flabobion też dostaje. Jeszcze to przejdę. Tutaj w ramach naszego instytutu robimy badania w ramach biochemii ostropestu. Porównywaliśmy różne odrody tego ostropestu plus flawobion, lagozę w ramach herbaty, które właśnie mają ten ostropest. W ramach naszej bazy doświadczalnej żeśmy uprawiali też. Tu są też i inne rośliny lecznicze, które się używają w ramach chorób z wątrobą. Dużo z nich się używa w ramach chińskiej medycyny. To jest właśnie w nawiasie za tymi roślinami. No a ostatnie 2 slajdy to są nasze publikacje, które żeśmy na Instytucie publikowali. Tu są różne w ramach COVID-u, antyoksydany w roślinach, profesorka Habanowa, profesor Haban, a ostatnia publikacja teraz też żeśmy zmapowali Słowację i wszystkie rośliny lecznicze w ramach Słowacji żeśmy zmapowali i da się kupić tą publikację też. Dziękuję za uwagę. Ja tak ogólnie na koniec to przyspieszyłam. Nie słyszę nikogo, ale mam nadzieję, że widać i słychać mnie było.
Tak? Ale nie słyszę. Dziękuję.
Dziękuję bardzo za uwagę.
Dziękujemy.
Dziękuję, już widzę. Nic nie słyszę, dlatego mówię, że ja się czułam, jakbym była w jakimś... Dziękuję. A przyszła koleżanka mi z góry, o, profesorka tutaj Habanowa.
Pozdrawiam wszystkich. Pozdrawiam.
To już teraz nie widzimy, tak? Ale pozdrawiamy
I
bardzo
mówi, że już
ciepło.
mam kończyć, dlatego ostatnia część była taka przyspieszona, że już nie zdążyłam nic myśleć nawet. Dziękuję. Tak, hello everybody.
Hello.
So I am happy that we will with you.
Thank you very much. Dziękujemy bardzo. Niektóre opinie były interesujące,
Nic
niektóre
nie słyszymy, nic nie
szokujące,
słyszymy. No.
ale myślę, że są zawsze świetnym punktem do dyskusji. Jak to w nauce bywa, jeżeli różnimy się w poglądach, to jest o czym dyskutować. Dziękuję.
I have big pleasure to introduce our next speaker. It is last speaker in this session and in this place, Professor Marko Obranović from University of Zagreb Faculty of Food Technology and Biotechnology. He is a researcher in the Laboratory for Oil and Fat Technology. Marko specializes in oil chemistry and technology. His works focus on sustainable innovation in oil processing, AG, pomegranate seed oil, waste valorization AG from coffee waste, and also from hemp. Professor Marko Obranović is very active and actively collaborates with industry partners. He's many projects conducted. And he joined the gap between academic research and practical application in food technology. Marko, the floor is yours, please.
Thank you. Dzień dobry. When I was checking when is my time to give a lecture, when I saw the time before lunch, I was very careful how much data I'm going to put on the paper, on the slides. So I was watching a few days ago one advice how to start a lecture. So the first thing is that you start with the title and talking about yourself. It's much better to start with a story. So this will start with a little bit of story. So once upon a time, you know that pomegranate is a reason why we have winter. So once upon a time in Greek mythology, they said that Persephone, the daughter of Demeter, was abducted by Hades, the god of underground. He wanted to marry her, and he took her to the underworld. But Demetra, her mother, was very depressed, sorry, and she neglected her duties of growing crops, feeding people. So people gathered to find a compromise. They asked the god Zeus to bring the Persephone back to her mother. So the Hades, his brother, told him she can come back, but only if she didn't eat the food of immortals. She said, well, I didn't eat anything except few seeds of pomegranate. So they had to make, again, a compromise. because of she ate a little bit of seeds of pomegranate. Few months a year she would spend underground with as a queen of underworld. That time of the year is winter, and autumn no crops, and the other part of the year she spends with her mother. That's the time when we have abundance of fruit and vegetables. So pomegranate is a big symbol of Mediterranean, Middle Eastern countries, and I will try to introduce you a little bit about that. First, does anybody know about pomegranate seed oil? So we have one person. Okay. So you know, when you work with oils, like we always we get bored with the simple oils. So it's not so interesting to study sunflower or olives in my country. So we're always looking for something new. So this is a lecture, also a story how we combine science and practical industry. So there are a lot of these simple accidents or networking. You know people, you know friends, cousins, how people network, how people combine the knowledge from different aspects of work. So we have a little bit of pomegranate in my country. I suppose at least quarter of you, by statistics, visit Croatia for holiday. So maybe I have it in my garden in summer house. So it is a fruit that is relatively common as a homegrown fruit in Croatia. So, but we are not in some global statistics of any significance. So the main producers are Iran, India, Turkey. So professor was here. US and of course China. China is growing. Iran is mostly using for itself. So these are in tons, thousands of tons, the data. And people use it mostly for juice. Have you been to Turkey? You know, on the street they squeeze pomegranate. And unfortunately pomegranate is not dominantly juice, so there is a lot of waste. So one of the reasons why we started researching this is for circular economies, how to use this huge amount of waste that is produced out of pomegranate. By some statistics, pomegranate is top 15, top 20 fruit of the world. It's not so big as apples or bananas, but it's not so small also. So you see, approximately 3 to 20%. It's very hard to distinguish because there are around 500 different types of varieties of pomegranate. Consists of seeds, so 3 to 20%. So to get the oil, you usually extract oil from seeds. Most of the oils that I'm talking about, fatty acid oils, not essential oils. So seeds contain around 12 to 20%. These numbers of 20% are highly rare, so usually it's lower, 12, 10. In literature, they want to put big numbers, but in practical, when you work in practice, usually you find much lower numbers. So for 1 liter, you need 30, sometimes 200 kilos of fruit for 1 liter of oil. So it's pretty demanding process. So when you read about oils, if you are familiar or if you know anything about chemistry of oils, everybody start counting the same things. It has tocopherols, it has fatty acids, it has sterols, phytosterols, phenolic compounds, but we always look for something special. Why would you do so much work just to get 1 liter from 200 kilos of fruit if you can get the same thing out of sunflower? So most of the seeds from the fruit are not of such a big interest. There is a big industry of grape seed oil. Also, there are a lot of publications on different kinds of byproducts. You can make oils from strawberry also. You can make oils from from raspberry, you can make oils from slivki or plum. You know, you can make oil from every seed. Just depends why would you do it if you can do it from the much cheaper source. So usually, why do they do it? Because to sell women expensive cosmetics. You know, when you buy some very high-end emulsion, oil emulsion, you want to have oils that sound exotic, so that you think that you paid good money for something valuable. You know, like they put 6-7 different oils just to confuse the buyer. But in general, when you look at the fatty acid profile, you could do all that with rapeseed and olive. But if you put some exotic raspberry oil and something like that, then buyers think that it has to have something special. But Punisic pomegranate seed oil has something special. It has a very unusual fatty acid called Punisic fatty acid. And it's not Punisic fatty acids is not a small quantity. It's not a small yield of oil. So it goes up to 85%. At least the seeds that we analyzed in Croatia from Croatian varieties, local varieties, have up to 85% of Punisic fatty acid. So in literature there is up to 35%, up to from 35 to 85. So also that depends on many things, but that's not the topic of this lecture. The other 15-20% are relatively usual fatty acids like oleic, linoleic, alpha-linoleic. So nothing so special, but this is extremely unusual because there is only one other plant. I haven't seen it, I haven't tried it. If you go to China, because seeds of Chinese cucumber, Trichochantes kirillovi, they use it as a snack, so you can eat it. But the only other oil, as I said, similar to pomegranate seed oil is that type. So this Punisic fatty acid belongs to a group of conjugated alpha-linoleic acid, a relatively unusual term in the oil chemistry. It's a collective term describing octo-decatrienoic fatty acids, so they have 3 double bonds on little different positions than alpha-linoleic acid. It gives them much different chemical, biological characteristics. So you see this is a small table and the biggest table I put on this presentation. So with some other plants with these conjugated fatty acids. I don't know if you ever came along in touch in these with these oils. They're, as I said, very rare. Almost you can go throughout your lifetime never coming across with this, and they are founded, I think, in 80s. So it's relatively new topic, and it's being researched slowly. Only by a smaller group of people. Yeah. But also the oil is never just an oil. So there are some other things. The people who study fruit or polyphenols, they know that pomegranate has extremely strong antioxidants, polyphenolic compounds. This is just a small graph from our measurement. We were comparing. We had a big research on olive oil. So when you measure antioxidant capacity of olive oil, you can use different techniques. I'm probably sure that some of you are familiar with reduction of DPPH. It's a free radical. So it's a relatively simple method. You have a solution of free radical, then you add oil, and then you measure how fast that oil catches the free radicals. Very simple. So we were doing, so it measures in 30 minutes how big percent of free radicals you can catch, 10%, 20%, 30%. So olive oils after 30 minutes, Croatian olive oils, the best they can reduce 65%. Usually it's around 50. Pomegranate seed oil that we made in laboratory did reduction of 95% of free radicals. So you would say 30% better, much better. There is a lot of research on health benefits of pomegranate seed oil. Anti-tumor, hypoglycemic, antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, anti-osteoporotic, cardiovascular effect, microbial effect, neuroprotective, obesity. There is interest, and there are some good results. I will just give you few ideas what are those results, but also a few problems with that. So PCO is pomegranate seed oil. It's used for treating skin cancer, and this was not a lecture meant to be for cosmetology. That is not my profession, but oil technology is producing a raw material for cosmetics. So when I was doing supercritical extraction of pomegranate seed oil, I had a pleasure of using that freshly from the machine. And you know, when you put it on your fingers, on your hands, you can see immediately in 24 hours scars and wounds are healing very fast. So when I was talking with my colleagues, ladies from university, what I was doing, all of them are saying, please include me in your next research. We are applying. So there is very beneficial effect of pomegranate seed oil on skin prevention, but also there is a big industry of cosmetic of using pomegranate seed oil in cosmetic industry. Also, there is a big research on breast and prostate cancer, so they inhibit growth of and induce apoptosis of estrogen-sensitive cell lines, prostate cancer cell lines. So also very promising results. There are also promising results in colon cancer with male rats. There were done significant research. And also it was tested as anti-obesity. Here is one very important question. You know, when you have something from the nature which is so small, people think that you have to buy 1 liter of that oil to have an effect. But they did a test just replacing 1% of total fat per day, just 1% with pomegranate seed oil. And rodents, laboratory mice, responded very positively on reducing body fat. So they were feeding them just for 12 weeks. This research is interesting. One of the, I found, most cited, quoted research on let's say, positive effect on the obesity. Well, the problem is that there are not so many research done on humans. Most of the research that is done is usually in Middle Eastern countries. So there are huge variations in dosage. You see, from 0.3 grams per day to 2 grams per day. Just to put it in perspective, that would be like half a teaspoon of oil per day, the maximum dosage that was done. And the duration of research was relatively short, so maybe 4, some maybe do it 8 weeks, very rarely 12 weeks, which is probably not enough, especially for obesity. Also, there are research on diabetes influence, but there are a lot of problems with this oil. First is availability. Here you have to import. Second, nobody knows about it. Only one colleague here and knew about the topic. Quality is a huge problem. It's not. I graduated nutrition science. I did my PhD in food technology, and I was always interested in what are we advising to people? You know, when you read scientific papers, you always read that curcumin or curcuma or some exotic plant is super, heals everything. But then you go to the shop, you buy something, everything, it's a EU-based, important outside EU. You never know the quality, and the quality of nutritional supplements is a huge problem. The laws are not so strict, so it opens the field for selling everything to everybody. And the pomegranate seed oil has that problem. Like all specialty oils, they are prone to fraud and prone to oxidative stability. One terrible example, I did my PhD on flaxseed. Flaxseed is something that you use in Poland a lot. Most of the flaxseed oil is rancid that you buy on the market. So when you make it, after 1 month, it starts going in oxidation. And because everything goes under one law, refined sunflower and cold pressed flaxseed oil, they are only the same group by the law. They follow the same standards, and the standards are not good. So you can, let's say, hide quality under the false standards. As I cooperate with colleagues from SGGW since 2013, we made some research. They made a research here on Polish pomegranate seed oil that you can find in the market. So these are just few interesting things that you can find, like higher percentage of free fatty acids. It means that the seeds were bad quality. So if you make a juice and you don't dry seeds, you will have a bad oil. So who knows where did that oil was produced and how long was the seed stored. Second was a low quantity of punicic acid. You read that it should have 85% or maybe 70%, but a few of the samples had pretty low quantity, like 27-40%. So if you calculated the dosage, you should take double, sometimes triple of what was advised by literature. And extremely short oxidation time. So when you open the bottle, it means the oxidation is let's say maybe 10-20 times faster than olive oil, even faster. So you cannot sell it in big bottles. When you see somebody selling you pomegranate seed oil in 250 milliliter bottles, half-liter bottles, that's not a good product. It has to be in small bottles for short-term use. So the prices, as I just watched last night, where you can find in Poland, this is for 250. I'm very skeptical at this 250 for 51 zloty. On Amazon to Croatia, they ship a small 60 milliliters for 60-70 euros. So it's a high-end product, and you see in this package, like this is mostly focused on skin care. So if you're making, many people like to make homemade cosmetics. You can put few drops in your house cream, or you can just drop on your skin, or you can take orally a few drops. But as I told you from the research before, when you open the bottle, it's going to go rancid in day by day. It's deteriorating in the taste. So just to give you an idea, on the market, when you produce these high-end oils, you can produce them in two ways. One is called press. This is relatively simple. Like this machine, like just uses power, squeeze the seeds, but it has a very low yield. So when we were doing production at the laboratory, the yield never went above 40%. So you have 12% in the seed, and out of those 12%, you can use only 40%. So you get 4% oil in the end from the seed. Supercritical CO2 is much better. So when you find a product of that type, hopefully it's good quality, it can collect much more aroma, and the yield is around 100%. So it's much more aromatic, much better quality. So those are the two types. So I'm telling you this because, as I said, the oil is interesting, and the idea was to combine science and practical work. So there is one bigger producer. Croatia is small, so we don't have a huge industry of pomegranate. One of my friends has a cousin who has a juice factory. So and he produces pomegranate juice. So, and he's a chemical engineer by education. So it means that he knows something about chemistry. So he understood the potential. So we are developing the product now to see how well or how much can we produce it in Croatia. The one very popular method today and of preservation and increasing bioavailability of oils and all other lipophilic lipid soluble molecules is encapsulation. So I don't know if does anybody do encapsulations here? Have you? So it's the way how to make a lipid soluble molecule in the water soluble form. So you can attach certain molecules on it, polysaccharides, proteins. We used a liposomal encapsulation. It means you make this this shape. You integrate punicic acid in this membrane. So in some way you imitate the cell, and in that way punicic acid is more stable. It's protected and it's more water soluble. These are just unpublished information for now. There are some published papers, but as advice or maybe as an information, the future of many these special lipids and lipid soluble compounds will be in encapsulation. It means vitamin D, curcumin, coenzyme Q, CBD, cannabinoids. They are all lipid soluble molecules which have highly low bioavailability. Curcumin or CBD, cannabinoids, have bioavailability under 10%. So it means everything what you eat, for CBD around 6% enters your body. Fatty acids are a little better, but not so better. So also there is no need to take excessive amounts of these special supplements or nutritional supplements, because if they don't absorb in your organism, there is always a problem how to extract them through liver, through kidneys, and also the problem of lipid oxidation, which you get free radicals and unnecessary problems in your organism. So we are on the practical side of that. So this lecture is just to show you we started doing something with industry. So this is the owner of juice factory. And if you, how many of you visited Croatia for summer? I see like a third of half of you, yeah. So you see this is called, we call it Neretva Valley. That's the last part of our coast which is not focused on tourism. So they still have some agriculture there. Everything else is occupied by hotels, apartments, marinas. So this is a little bit like oasis. Traditionally, it was a swamp area with pirates. They had malaria there till 70s. So they can grow a lot of mandarins. He produces juices from mandarins, oranges, pomegranate. And hopefully we will have a commercial product relatively soon. Because luckily nearby there is also supercritical factory service that are giving. So The only thing that we have to develop now is how to separate the seeds from so much waste, and how to prepare the seeds for extraction. So when you buy something for nutritional supplement, it's good that you ask yourself how it is produced and where it's produced. Because as I work a lot with industry, they tell me by going to different fairs, conferences, Europe is more and more complaining, consumers in Europe are more and more complaining if they read made in China. So there is a big trend of going back to local production. And we deserted this complex production. You know, vitamin C comes mostly from China. Croatia had a huge production of vitamin C when we were part of Yugoslavia. But we shipped everything out. We make apartments, we make hotels. Everybody wants to make marketing, online business. Nobody knows what they are eating, and they all fantasize that it's local, organic. So, and that takes time and effort to produce. So thank you. My colleague Daniela Sheremet was mostly included in encapsulation techniques. And there are much bigger team also with Professor Joanna here in SGGW that we are working on this topic.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Professor Marko Abramowicz, for your very interesting lecture, comprehensive and presentation, two phases of pomegranate seeds oil. Thank you for my colleague Magda and Kazim. We welcome for the break. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now is the time for walking to the Branickich apartments. Everything is in Branickich family. The opening is Branickich Palace. The next part of conference will be in Branickich apartments. Dinner will be in Branickich hotel. So you can walk. The time is about 15 minutes to the Branickich hotel. It is by, you can show the slide with road. By Old Town, yes, about it's taking about 15 minutes, about one kilometers. Thank you very much.